write in anger, but I always write with joy, but sometimes I write with passion. And I clearly write from an emotion, not an idea. I know that. But my voice is how I feel about something primarily, and how I think about it it would be derived from that.
I'm just thinking about what you said. Think more.
I'm in no hurry. Take your time.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to think. I don't just ask questions from a list. How was the experience of writing your book?
Well, the book on Bill, it was exciting because I got to be inside a football team for a season, and he was the head coach, and he was great, and he and I got to know each other very well. So that was all exciting, and I loved writing it. I'm proud of that book. When the book came out, he objected to it. He felt that I had overexposed him, and he said things about me on TV and to other reporters that got reported, which burned me up. And we did not speak for 2 years, and he wanted a détente, but I'm a New York guy, and I was pissed off, and I did not want to speak to him for 2 years. After 2 years, we gradually made it up, and we were quite cordial by the time he passed away. So I loved writing the book, but the aftermath of the book was no fun.
What did he say about you when he was angry?
Yeah. He went on the halftime of a football broadcast, and he said, they asked him about the book, and this is a quote. He said, that book that's been written, I was not a party to. That's what he said. He washed his hands of it. And what burned me up was we had a legal agreement. He got part of the proceeds from that book. He was a millionaire. I wasn't. He got part of the proceeds. So to say you weren't a party to it wasn't true. That kind of burned me up. And we had a big... he didn't like confrontation, but I went down to Stanford, and I told him we had a talk, and I think I yelled at him. I was really angry. And he wrote me a note apologizing, and I think he apologized because he was afraid I would sue him, because what he said was a lie. But, of course, I never did that.
Have you ever sued anyone?
No. One time, we took someone to small claims court. They did some work on our house, and it was a mess, and we took someone to the small claims court and got $500. But I never sued anybody.
No. Did Walsh's affair with Christine Hansen hit the news media when it was going on?
Yes, everyone knew about it.
But was it written up in newspapers?
No.
Why not?
Because it was not relevant. His private affair had nothing to do with him as a coach. I know players and coaches all the time who are having extramarital sex. I never write about it. If I were having extramarital sex, I wouldn't think it would be anybody's business but my wife. I'm not having extramarital sex, but it's a personal, private thing, and it's not my business to write about it. When I wrote my book on Bill, he used to talk to me about Christine Hansen. I never put it in my book. I didn't think it was appropriate. And what burned me up about Bill was that he felt I had overexposed him, because I had him maybe 3 or 4 times in the book saying fuck. He didn't like to be perceived as someone who said fuck. He said fuck. He was a football coach. He said it all the time. And he criticized certain teams, and that was in the book, and he didn't think that was okay. But, my God, he told me all about Christine Hansen on tape, and I never put that in. I protected him because I didn't think that it was what an honorable man would do, to do that to another man, even if he was stupid enough to say it. And if I put it in my book, I'd probably be a millionaire today, because I would have broken that news in 1994 the book came out. I haven't read Harris's book, but I hear he talked to Christine, and it's in there. Maybe Bill gave him his blessing. Do it. But I never wanted to do it because it was not relevant to him going back to Stanford, and I just didn't think it was morally a proper thing to do. So that was a moral absolute.
Why haven't you read Harris's book?
I have. I feel like I've read and dealt with Bill's life a lot. My wife's yelling. I'm on the phone. I don't want to go over his life again. I did that enough. I would say that's the primary reason. Harris never involved me in the book. He called a lot of other people, a lot of my friends, and asked them questions about Bill, but he never called me about it. He didn't, reach out to me, which I thought was odd, considering I know more about Bill than any other sports writer. So I guess maybe that turned me off. But in addition, not maybe, that did turn me off. But in addition, I think maybe I've had enough of Bill's life.
Did you read Jeff Pearlman's book on the Dallas Cowboys?
No.
I'd like to read just like one paragraph to you and get your reaction.
Okay.
He's writing about Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless's book. Did you read Hellbent, his book on the 1985 Cowboys?
No. Let me say something, Luke. I almost never read sports books.
Okay.
It's just not what I would do. But okay, let me hear the paragraph.
Okay. While Skip Bayless attempted to ward off critics by noting that Hellbent featured 284 pages not dealing with Aikman's sexual orientation, he had broken two written-in-blood journalistic tenets. A, don't out people for the sake of book sales. B, you decided to ignore Rule A, know what the hell you're talking about. Do you have any reaction to that?
I'd rather not get into it, and here's why. Because I never read either book, and I take books seriously, so I feel I would be irresponsible to comment on something I know nothing about. So I'm happy to talk to you about, I have not held anything back, but I don't think that would be fair.
Right. Could we talk about the issue of outing?
Okay.
What do you think about outing?
I never have done it. I never have done it, and the only chance I guess I really had to was to out Bill that he was unfaithful in his marriage, and I felt it morally repugnant. So I guess I'm not in favor of outing. And
it's not even like a struggle for you. I mean, that's
no,
like
not at all.
A moral absolute for you.
Yes, it's a moral absolute for me. Part of what I do is I have to be able to live with myself and think that I'm a good guy. I mean, that's what my father always said, that you have to act in ways that are honorable and you have to live with yourself. And even if Bill was stupid enough to tell me about Christine, I was not going to write about it. And sometimes I think, did he want me to write about it? Like, was there some sort of weird thing going on where he thought if he could put it in my book, then he could show it to his wife, and that would be... I mean, I have no idea. I'm not that complicated, but I wouldn't touch it. So the idea of outing to me seems like a bottom-feeder thing to do.
How would you have dealt, or maybe you did deal, like when Kobe Bryant got accused of rape in that whole circus? Would you have wanted to steer away from it? Did you touch that, and how would you?
I don't remember if I touched it. Was he ever convicted of anything?
No, I believe he reached an out-of-court substantial settlement with the girl.
Yeah, I don't think I wrote about that. That was a Minnesota story. I didn't know him. I didn't know the facts of that. I have very strong opinions about how athletes comport themselves. I always was very hard on Barry Bonds because I thought that he was a marginal person. I think that he is a marginal person. I could be wrong. Maybe he's the greatest thing in the world, but I never noticed it. So I was always very hard on him, and I'm not reluctant to criticize people if they act in crummy ways. I guess it's part of what I do. I just don't want to louse up people's private lives, especially if someone is cheating in a marriage. You don't know the reasons. How would I get into the middle of that marriage?
Did you ever cover, or have you covered court cases, criminal court cases with starring athletes? No,
I don't think I have. No. One of the things I like about sports is that if you want, it can be a pretty simplified endeavor. I don't think I never went to any of Barry Bonds' court appearances. I haven't felt interested in it. No, I haven't done that.
How come you haven't written more books?
Well, I wrote, when my dad died in 1988, I wrote a book about boxing, memoir about boxing, my dad and I.